Flemish primitives. This term refers to the painters of the 15th and early 16th centuries living in the county of Flanders, which was the southern provinces of Netherlands, modern-day Belgium. People who lived there belonged to Germanic ethnic group and spoke Flemish Dutch. The term Flemish primitives was first used in the beginning of the 19th century. It did not refer to a lack of sophistication, but rather identified those artists as originators of a new tradition in painting. Nowadays, the term Flemish primitives sounds rather inappropriate, because nothing is primitive about the art of that period. Flemish artists of that time were quite advanced. However, the term became very recognizable and several attempts to change it failed. The 15th century of the southern Netherlands was a period of artistic flourishing. For the first time, the painters received a very prominent position in the society. They were highly respected and held a high status. They received not only commissions, but were sponsored by the nobility to be able to travel and influence other artists. Majority of Flemish primitives were well educated, knew several languages, and were financially successful. Flemish primitives brought numerous innovations to painting. While Dutch painters used pen, ink, and watercolor wash, the Flemish painters started using oil paint. Van Eyck was probably the first who started adding turpentine to pigments. This was very advantageous because the oil paint dried slowly, which gave more time for detailed painting. It also allowed Flemish primitives to invent a new technique, which consisted of using very thin layers of oil paint, heavily diluted with turpentine and varnish. All this brought extreme fineness to their paintings and a new level of virtuosity. Oil allowed smooth, translucent surfaces. It could be applied in a range of thickness from fine line to thick strokes. It dried slowly and was easily manipulated while still wet. All this allowed more time to add subtle details. The prominent style of Flemish primitives was naturalism. The artists tried to show the world the way it actually was. They were interested in the accurate reproduction of objects, painting the smallest details, the shadows, reflections. They favored three-dimensional space rather than flat perspective. They tried to depict people in a way that made them look more human, with a great complexity of emotions. Flemish primitives were also the first to start using symbolism in painting. Hieronymus Bosch was especially famous for that. The Flemish primitives often painted altarpieces. A large central panel was exposed above the altar, surrounded by painted panels, which could be closed like shutters if needed for liturgy. They were the first to use easel. Hans Memling was the first to paint still life.